Have you ever walked away from someone you love, your own child, a sibling, a lifelong friend, and felt a quiet ache you couldn't explain? Not anger, not even sadness, just drained. Like something inside you gave too much and got nothing back. Here's something no one talks about enough. For many older adults, the greatest source of stress isn't illness or money. It's people. The very people they've loved, supported, and sacrificed for. And yes, heartbreakingly, that sometimes includes family. This truth rarely gets said out loud, but it lives in the silence after a phone call that left you heavy. In the visits that end with you feeling smaller than when they began. It's not always dramatic. It's the slow, quiet erosion of your peace caused by the wrong relationships. It creeps in through subtle guilt trips, constant neediness, unspoken expectations that build up like invisible bricks on your shoulders. And without realizing it, you begin carrying the emotional weight of others while your own joy fades into the background. That's why, as we age, it's not just okay, it's essential to take a close look at who we allow into our emotional circle. It doesn't matter what title they hold in your life. What matters is how they make you feel. Do they leave you feeling seen, respected, and uplifted? Or do you walk away tired, unheard, and quietly resentful? Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's survival, and more than that, it's an act of love for yourself. Because when you clear out the relationships that drain you, you create room for those who truly nourish you. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes I want to help you recognize the quiet patterns that steal your energy and show you how to set boundaries without guilt. And if any part of this already feels familiar, comment peace below, because this might be the start of reclaiming your power. It often starts innocently enough. A quick call, a familiar voice saying, "Hey, can you do me a tiny favor?" You're sitting at your kitchen table, coffee in hand, thinking, sure, what's one little ride to the pharmacy? You've always been that person, the dependable one, the helper, the rock. And in the beginning, it feels good to be needed. It feels like purpose. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things shift. The calls become more frequent. The favors grow bigger. And before long, your calendar starts filling up with other people's problems. Doctor's appointments that aren't yours, emotional breakdowns that leave you feeling empty, errands that steal your precious time and energy. You start noticing something strange when you say, "I'm not sure I can today." Silence. That pause on the other end of the line that feels heavier than any words. Then comes the guilt. "I guess I'll figure it out," they murmur. Just enough sadness in their voice to twist the knife. That's the thing about manipulators. They don't yell, they don't demand. They press on the softest parts of you, your compassion, your loyalty, your habit of always putting others first. They wear their need like a mask, but behind it is quiet control. And sometimes the person pulling the strings is someone you love deeply. A grown child who never seems to get it together. A friend who leans too hard. A sibling stuck in lifelong chaos. You tell yourself, they just need help. They don't mean to drain me, but the result is the same. They take and you give. Again and again. And where does that leave you? Tired, quietly resentful, a little more invisible each time you say yes when you meant to say no. One day you catch yourself staring out the window, the sunlight warm but distant, and you whisper to yourself, "When did I stop taking care of me?" That moment, that tiny whisper of truth, is sacred. It means something inside you still knows you deserve peace. You do. It's time to understand. Protecting your time, your energy, your peace is not selfish. It's an act of love. For you. Try imagining this scene. The next time that call comes in and they say, "Can you help me just this once?" You take a breath. You place your hand over your heart, and you answer gently, "I care about you, but I'm not able to help right now." Let it hang there in the air. No justification, no apology, just truth. You're not rejecting them. You're choosing yourself, and maybe for the first time in a long while, you feel a strange, powerful calm in your chest. A quiet strength you forgot was there. That's not cruelty. That's healing. Because the truth is, someone who truly loves, you will respect your limits. And someone who only loves what you do for them was never loving you fully to begin with. So if this story feels like yours even a little, know this. You are not alone, and you are not wrong for wanting space. Comment peace below if you're ready to protect your energy, because that small act of courage might just change your life. But manipulators aren't the only ones who drain us. Sometimes the person who leaves us feeling invisible isn't asking too much. They're simply never listening at all. You were excited to share that memory, just a simple story from years ago, one that still makes you smile when you think about it. Maybe it was the way the leaves looked that fall when your kids were little, or the way your mother used to hum in the kitchen. You started telling it over coffee with your cousin, or your friend from church, or maybe even your daughter. But before you could even finish the first sentence, they interrupted. "Oh, that reminds me," they said, launching into something about their own life, their kids, their weekend, their problems, and just like that, your moment disappeared. At first, you brushed it off. Maybe they were just excited to talk, but it kept happening. Every time you tried to share, they steered the conversation back to themselves, like your words were just a stepping stone for their monologue. Eventually, you stopped trying. You smiled and nodded, you listened. But inside, you felt something, fading. Being in the presence of a narcissist doesn't always feel cruel. Sometimes it just feels lonely. Because they don't yell, they don't belittle you outright, they just don't see you. And that invisibility, it hurts in ways that are hard to explain. You've lived so much life, you've loved deeply, lost painfully, and learned in ways only time can teach. And you truly deserve, to be seen, heard, held in conversation by people who are as curious about your heart as they are about their own. But narcissists don't ask how you are. They don't remember what matters to you. They rarely offer a kind word unless it's to set up their next story. And after enough one-sided talks, you begin to feel like your role in their life is to applaud, agree, and stay quiet. That's not a relationship. That's an audience, and you weren't made to be someone's supporting character. You are the storyteller, the elder, the soul full of wisdom and memory. You deserve spaces where your voice is welcome. So what do? You draw a quiet line. You start choosing where to pour your stories, your attention, your time. You give less to the ones who only take, and more to the ones who sit forward in their chair, eyes soft, genuinely waiting for your next word. You begin to notice the difference between attention and affection, and slowly you start to believe, my words are worth hearing. If this feels like your story, know that it's not too late to reclaim your voice, to find people who make room for your memories, your laughter, your quiet. Comment heard if you're ready to let go of people who never really listened, and start surrounding yourself with those who do. And even when someone is listening, some don't listen to support you. They listen to find flaws. Let's talk about those who chip away at your confidence, one comment at a time. You were feeling good that day. Not perfect, but good. You had on a blouse you hadn't worn in a while, your hair combed just the way you like it. You passed the mirror, smiled a little at yourself. Maybe you even whispered, I look nice. Today, then came the comment. Maybe it was from your sister, or your neighbor, or even someone you've loved for years. You sure you want to wear that? They said with a chuckle. Or, you've gained a little, haven't you? Or maybe it was just a sigh and a look. No words, but the meaning was clear, and just like that, something small and tender inside you folded in on itself. You pretended it didn't sting, but it did. Not because you need approval, but because it came from someone whose opinion used to matter. That's how critics operate. Not always loud, not always cruel, just persistent. Like a faucet that drips slowly, steadily, a few words here, a few jabs there. And over time, they don't just wear down your self-esteem. They begin to shape how you see yourself. They question how you spend your time, how you dress, how you eat, how you live. And it's usually disguised as concern. I'm just looking out for you, they say. Don't be so sensitive. But here's the truth you already know in your bones. Real love doesn't shrink you. It doesn't stand back and point out flaws. It steps forward, lifts you, smiles when you smile, claps when you try. After a lifetime of working, raising others, building a life, surviving heartbreaks and starting over, you've more than earned the right to live with confidence and ease. You don't need anyone's permission to enjoy your days, your hobbies, your body, your choices. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to be, fully, freely. So the next time a critic offers their unsolicited opinion, breathe deeply and remember, you're not obligated to absorb it. You can nod, smile, and let their words fall to the ground like leaves from a tree. You don't have to carry them, and maybe, just maybe, you'll respond with quiet grace. I'm happy with how I'm living my life. That sentence is your shield, your boundary, your truth. If you've ever felt the sting of criticism from someone you trusted, comment enough, because that's what it is. Enough. No more letting others define you. You've earned the freedom to love who you are, out loud and without apology. And what about the ones who always seem to be in chaos, who expect you to drop everything for them, again and again? That's a different kind of exhaustion entirely. It usually starts with a phone call or a knock at the door, that familiar voice on the other end saying, I'm in a bit of a bind. Again. Maybe it's your son, the one who's always trying to get it together. Or your niece who means well but never quite stands on her own. Or a friend from way back who always seems to be in the middle of a crisis. They need help, money, a place to stay, someone to talk to for hours about the same problems they refuse to solve. And just like every time before, you feel that old tug in your chest, the urge to help, to step in, to fix, because that's who you've been, a helper, a giver, the reliable one, so you say yes, again. But the truth you carry, quietly beneath the surface, is that every yes is costing you something, a little more peace, a little more energy, a little more space for yourself. What you don't say out loud is, I'm tired, I've done enough. I just want to breathe without carrying someone else's weight. But they don't see that part. Or maybe they do, and they count on your silence. Irresponsible people often don't notice how much they lean, because they're so used to being caught. They rarely mean harm, but they rarely learn either, because someone, maybe you, always softens the fall. The hard truth is that constantly, rescuing someone doesn't always help them. Sometimes it keeps them exactly where they are. There is a kind of love, an honest, respectful love, that steps back. That says, I believe in your ability to figure this out. That love doesn't throw a life raft every time. Sometimes it lets people learn how to swim. You're not abandoning them. You're giving them the space to grow. And you're giving yourself something even more sacred. Relief. Try saying, I wish I could, but I'm not in a place to take this on. Then stop. Don't fill the silence with guilt. Just let your boundary be your peace. If you've been the fixer for far too long and your heart is aching for rest, comment, release. Because that's what you deserve. To release the weight, to reclaim your time, to let go of responsibility that was never truly yours to carry. Then there are those who don't ask too much or speak too harshly. They just don't say anything at all. No thanks, no warmth, just silence. That's when ungratefulness starts to quietly wear you down. You spent the entire afternoon preparing that meal, the roast, the pie, the little things you knew they liked. You didn't expect applause, just maybe a smile, a thank you, some small moment of appreciation to make it feel worth it. But when the dinner was over, the only words spoken were complaints. It's not like Mom used to make. Did you use a different recipe? And then they disappeared into their phones, the TV, their own lives, leaving you with a quiet room and dishes that echoed louder than any words. Ungratefulness doesn't always come in shouting. Sometimes it shows up in silence, in the absence of acknowledgement. And over time, that silence begins to feel like something heavier, something sharp. It whispers, "You don't matter." You start to wonder, is what I give even noticed anymore? Because it's not just the meal, it's the years of rides, the holidays you organized, the birthdays you never forgot, the listening, the helping, the showing up again and again. You gave and gave. Not for recognition, but certainly not to be ignored. Here's the hardest part. It often comes from the people you love most, the ones you raised, held, stayed up all night worrying about. You don't want much, you never have, but a little gratitude, a warm thank you. That's not asking too much. Ungrateful people have a way of making your love feel like a transaction, one they feel entitled to, and when they don't acknowledge it, it chips away at the joy of giving. But you are not defined by their blindness. Their lack of appreciation is not a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their own emptiness. You can still be generous, but choose where your generosity goes. Give your time, your warmth, your energy to those who light up when you enter the room, to those who say, "I see you, thank you, I'm glad you're here." And when the ungrateful show up again, asking without seeing, expecting without acknowledging, let your silence be your answer, or simply say, "Right now I need to focus on myself." You're not being selfish, you're honoring your heart. If you've ever felt invisible in the very place you should feel most valued, comment "seen." Because you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be cherished. And from here on, you have every right to pull your love back from where it's not respected and pour it into the places and people who truly appreciate the gift that is you. You've given so much in your life: love, time, patience, forgiveness. You've held space for others even when your own hands were trembling. And maybe, along the way, you forgot something important. You deserve peace too. You deserve relationships that feed your spirit, not just your sense of duty. You deserve to be surrounded by people who listen when you speak, lift you when you're tired, and say thank you when you give. And if that means letting go of those who manipulate, who take without giving, who criticize or guilt you, then so be it. Because the years ahead are not for carrying old burdens. They are for lightness, for joy, for finally choosing you. So take a breath, reclaim your energy, and walk gently into the next chapter of your life, knowing this one truth: your peace is not a luxury, it is your right, and you never have to apologize for protecting it.